My guest today is Emily Jones, and I wanted to bring Emily in because she was an eyewitness to a very important sports event that happened in this area on Sunday, September 29th, in what is now a football stadium, but at the time was still a baseball stadium for one more day.
One more day.
What I was curious, there was a lot of emotion associated with this event.
Yeah.
And you were right down on the ground floor, on the field, all of this. What's something you saw that was just like, oh wow, that was cool?
I think just everything leading up to it. The Rangers did such a fantastic job with the build up to this final day. And the buy-in from the players. I think just seeing so many of those guys, basically almost everyone except for Juan Gonzalez, who could be there, was there. The guys that didn't make it were playing actual baseball games or, with a team. And so I think the buy-in from the players and just seeing all those guys together, and that kind of bridged different eras in our ballpark's history was super cool. I mean, you had the Will Clarks and the Pudge Rodriguez's, and then you had the Michael Youngs and the Adrian Beltres, and then you had the Elvis Andrews and Shin-Soo Choo. So it was just all these, different eras in Rangers baseball bridged together. And the thing that brought them together was the fact that this ballpark, where all of those things happened, all of those memories were made, all of the history that's there was closing. And so I think that the Rangers did a fantastic job of the lead up and the build up to that day, and then the execution of what they were able to do post game was just ridiculous. And then pregame, I mean, you bring Nolan Ryan, which no one ever thought Nolan would step foot in that ballpark again. And for the final first pitch, it's Nolan to Kenny Rogers, and seeing him come out of the Rangers dugout and seeing the crowd react to that, because no one knew, the fans did not know, and so that was a super, super cool moment.
Now, did you know? When
I
you
did
find
know.
out?
I did know. I knew a couple weeks before, and was super stoked about it, and did my best to keep my mouth shut.
Congratulations
Yes,
on that.
Thank you
That's
very
really
much.
good.
Appreciate it.
For someone who talks for a living, that's
It's not easy.
So something that struck me was what you just pointed out about the former players coming in, and they all just seemed, you watch their faces, they just seemed totally bought into this. And Pudge especially, I'm watching him a lot. He's got his phone out. He's shooting everything. He's often
That's
smiling.
super Pudge. That's so Pudge, though. Like, Pudge is now, he's super social media now. Like, he's documenting everything, which is great. I love it. But then you see a guy like, Michael Young, who's not as, he's on social media, but you could see him. I saw him at one point, doing a panoramic when he was on the field, wanting to take it all in. So, and Mike Napoli, I mean, guys, they got into it. And I think that a lot of that is the way that the Rangers handled it. Those guys were super stoked to be there and to be back together. And it was really cool.
All right, so what was going through your mind? Because you spent a lot of time there also, as much as any player.
15 years.
What was going through your head?
So, that's been my baseball home for 15 years. I fell asleep in that camera well. I've got in trouble for sliding on the tarp. There's so many. That's where I fell in love with this game. I was not a baseball girl when I got to DFW. I grew up in Plainview. We were Rangers fans. My godfather is Mike Hargrove, who played for the Rangers, and so that was our baseball team, but I wasn't into baseball. And so all of the things that happened in Globe Life Park, that's where I fell in love with the game. That's where I fell in love with the Rangers organization. It's where I built some of the most meaningful relationships of my life. And so to see that, to know that that is going away is sad. But I also have had 2 pregnancies in this Texas summer heat and had to work out there. And I am so ready for pleasant conditions to cover a baseball game, to watch a baseball game. I mean, you go to those Sunday, July games at 2 o'clock and the seats are literally 150 degrees. It's miserable. It's not pleasant. I mean, the players even say it. They're like, I can't believe people are here. Like, it's so hot and so uncomfortable. So I'm so thankful for that. So I will miss the Globe Life Park. I love it and thankful for it. But it's time. It's time for the AC. Bring it on.
I have a theory that the person who will benefit the most from moving to the new park is this person right here.
I think I'm up there. The people who have to work in the direct sun, like our camera operators, that they've got nowhere to run. They've got nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. So there are people, who are, the security guards, Big Mike, the security guard down there, Fred, like those guys, they don't escape. They don't get out of the heat ever. And so for me, I can sneak away for, little bits at a time, but it's just miserable conditions when it's this hot outside.
Well, and you also have to, because you have to be on camera, you also have to be concerned about appearance and things like that some of those guys don't.
Sweaty and so exhausting. Yeah, and my hair goes so flat. I mean, I have terrible hair anyway, and so the odds are really, really against me when you look at the weather conditions and what I'm working with here.
Well, you have an off-season regimen now that you go through
I do.
to get ready for next year.
Yeah. Chemical pill, already had it. I'll have microdermabrasion. I basically just get we peel off a whole new face under here because the sun exposure is ridiculous. So I try to get my face back in order from a skincare perspective.
So there was some concern among Rangers personnel that Emily, on her way out of the park, might steal something. If you were going to steal something, and I suppose it's still possible, what would it have been?
So this is a no-brainer for me, and it would be, it's random, but it's the gate that leads from the owner's suite into the camera well where I work. So when I was pregnant with my first child, when I was pregnant with Henry in 2011, the first homestand of the season, that gate did not exist. And so you had to lower yourself. It's probably about a 4-foot drop. Lower yourself, maybe 3 feet. I had to lower myself into that camera well. So I'd grab the bar and slide underneath and lower myself down. Well, that first homestand, Nolan was sitting in the owner's suite. And
this was when he was president of the team.
Yep. And he watched me that whole, homestand. And he said, "You're not going to be able to do this for, much longer." And I was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'll figure it out, whatever." At that point, I was probably 6 months pregnant. And so he said, this is not going to work. And so anyway, I didn't think much of it. Went on the road, came back home, and lo and behold, they had cut out a section of the concrete wall, the divider between the owner's suite and the camera well. He had him knock out a section of that concrete wall and put a gate in, so that I didn't have to lower myself down into that camera well, that I could have access from the field into the owner's suite and then ultimately into the camera well. And so that's the thing because I feel like that's my gate. It's my gate. And so I don't know where I would display it in my home, but that gate is pretty special to me. And then also too, one other note, when I was pregnant, Nolan made the grounds crew put in not an L screen, but just a screen in front of me in case foul balls came into the well. And so, which I thought was unnecessary, but Nolan was like, "I cannot take any chances of anything happening to that baby." And then the second I returned from maternity leave, that thing was gone. And I was like, "What gives?" And he's like, "You can fend for yourself. I was worried about the baby." And I was like, "Okay, well, fair enough."
Have you gotten any indication from the Elvis Anderses and Ruggio Dors of the world if the ballpark tradition of dumping sports drink on the post-game interviewee will continue into the new facility?
I have not had that conversation. I can't imagine that's going anywhere. They love it so much. And it's a hit or miss thing. There's no rhyme or reason to it now. There used to be, it was very regimented, but when you have losing seasons, it takes some of the luster off of it. So I'll be curious to see, how things go in the new ballpark, and if the grounds crew will have a conversation and say, "Look, you're making our job really hard because now we have this turf, it's not natural grass." So we do have there's some serious off-season discussions that need to take place.
Well, and I feel like it's almost incumbent upon you to do some research.
Yeah.
Obviously, Powerade and ice reacting with natural grass is one thing. There's a hydration thing that goes on. I kind of feel like you maybe ought to be looking into some of the chemical reactions that happen and the turf they're going to be using, stuff like that.
I'm on it.
So you can make a recommendation.
I'm on it, definitely.
Right. Well, Emily Jones, Rangers sideline reporter and website interviewer extraordinaire.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Thank
Of
you for
course.
the insight on this previous ballpark that they've been playing in. And then there's a new one to come, and so we'll see how this works out with the whole sports drink.
Looking
thing.
forward to it.
Wonderful. Air conditioning.
Yes, AC, bring it on.
With Emily Jones for the Fort Worth Weekly, I'm Rush Olson.